Here's the truth few men dare to face. Attraction is not polite, logical, or fair. It doesn't arise because you're nice, wealthy, or polished. No, attraction ignites in a much older part of the human brain. The primitive circuits that decide, almost instantly, whether you are a man she must orbit or a man she will never remember. Centuries ago, Machiavelli uncovered this reality while studying power, politics, and human nature. His lesson was clear. People don't move for morality, they move for power, for fear, and for desire. That's why the so-called safe man, the one who bends over backward, who seeks approval, who plays by society's polite rules, fades into the background. He feels comfortable, but he does not stir the blood. Instead, women crave the man who feels like danger wrapped in control, the one whose presence bends the atmosphere, whose silence carries weight, whose unpredictability makes her pulse race. This is what I call the hidden law of desire. And in this journey, you will discover 6 timeless principles, pillars that transform you into the kind of man who never chases, because he becomes the gravity she cannot escape. These aren't childish tricks. They are strategies carved into biology itself. They shift how women experience you at a core, reptilian level. Once you understand them, you'll see the game of attraction with new eyes. But before we step into those 6 pillars, let's paint a picture. Imagine a crowded bar. She sits at a table with her friends, scrolling through her phone. Around her, men orbit like moths to a flame. They hover, they lean too close, they laugh too loudly, they try too hard. They all blend together. Then you walk in. You don't rush. You don't crane your neck to scan the room. You're still, unhurried. You move as if time belongs to you. Your gaze lingers, not frantic, but deliberate. Your silence is not empty, it's charged. In that moment, her nervous system does something she cannot control. It whispers, "This one is different. This one matters." That is where it begins. And it begins with the first pillar, movement. Pillar 1, movement, becoming the disruption. Movement doesn't just mean walking or gesturing. It means you disrupt her rhythm, her mental autopilot, her emotional sleep. Modern women are drowning in attention. Men fill her inbox. Men comment on her photos. Men orbit at her workplace. The problem, 99% of them are indistinguishable. They text the same tired lines. They smile the same predictable smiles. They lean in with eager eyes, hoping to be noticed. And because they all look, act, and move the same way, her brain filters them out like background noise. Understand this, the reptilian brain is hardwired to notice what breaks the pattern. It ignores the ordinary. It craves the unexpected, what feels like danger, what feels like disruption. And that's exactly what you must become, not through forced words or gimmicks, but through energy and presence. Imagine again that room full of men. Most bend toward her, but you stay still. You stand upright. You are calm, as if the world is orbiting you instead. When you lock eyes, you don't dart away nervously. You don't overplay it either. You simply hold, steady, until she's the one who looks away first. Then, you shift your gaze, as though you always expected it. That is movement, the disruption of expectation. Machiavelli himself would have said, "The prince who repeats the patterns of others is ruled by them. The prince who disrupts becomes feared and desired." Why does this work? Because her nervous system is constantly scanning. Predictable equals safety. Unpredictable equals excitement. Safety soothes, but excitement seduces. When you break her mental script, adrenaline spikes, her heart beats faster, curiosity surges, the primitive brain leans in. It whispers, "Pay attention. This man is not like the others. This is not performance. It is biology." You've bypassed her logic and entered her instincts. And desire, at its core, is not a logical choice. It is a survival reaction. So, how do you apply this? When you enter a room, resist the urge to fill the silence. Let your stillness bend the energy toward you. When you speak, avoid the predictable lines. Cut sideways, unexpected yet precise. Not to be funny, but to be disruptive. When you leave, don't linger. Don't exhaust the moment. Exit while the spark is alive. This is what carves you into memory. Movement isn't about being loud. It's about being different. Different is dangerous. And dangerous, when controlled, is irresistible. And that, my friend, is the foundation of desire. If movement is disruption, the spark that makes her notice, then attitude is the flame that makes her stay. Because here's the truth. Women don't truly fall for words. They fall for gravity. Every woman you will ever meet will test you. Not because she's cruel, not because she doesn't like you, but because testing is woven into her biology. It's instinct. She needs to know, can this man remain steady when I push chaos toward him? Can he stand firm when my emotions shift like waves? Can he lead when everything feels unstable? Most men crumble here. They defend themselves. They explain too much. They laugh nervously. They bend their behavior to win approval. And in that instant, she feels it. Weakness. But the man of gravity, he doesn't explain. He doesn't justify. He doesn't even flinch. Her storm breaks against him like waves against stone. He radiates the same calm whether she's teasing him, withdrawing, or pressing his buttons. This is attitude, the invisible crown on your head. Think of wolves in a pack. Leadership is not negotiated with words. It's felt. The alpha doesn't need to prove himself. His stillness, his gaze, his unshakable presence communicates everything. Machiavelli once wrote, "Never explain your authority. Sit on the throne, and the throne explains for you." So how do you wear this crown? Your body is still. No nervous fidgeting. Your voice is slower than hers. You're never rushed. Your gaze is direct, relaxed, not needy. Your reactions are minimal because only small men overreact. When she teases you, you smirk. When she accuses, you tilt your head in curiosity. When she withdraws, you remain unmoved. This is not stubbornness, it's frame control. And here's the science. Her primitive brain is scanning for dominance cues. Calm under pressure equals leadership. Leadership equals safety, and safety, paradoxically, is what allows her to surrender into desire. This is why attitude is not decoration. It is the invisible throne. With it, every word you say gains weight. Without it, every word crumbles into dust. But even attitude is not enough, because desire does not grow when you give more. It grows when you give less. Pillar 3, neglect the elegant discipline of absence. This is where nearly every man sabotages himself. He confuses attention with attraction. He floods her with messages, compliments, quick replies. He thinks if he gives more, she'll value him more. But biology does not work this way. The primitive brain places value on what is scarce and dismisses what is abundant. Think back to the ancient tribes. What was everywhere was ignored. What was scarce, fire, food, shelter, was worshipped. Scarcity shaped survival. The same principle shapes attraction. Every man gives her endless attention, and so every man becomes invisible. But the one who withholds, the one who steps back at the peak, the one who vanishes when she least expects it, he becomes unforgettable. This is not cruelty. This is not rejection. This is the art of neglect. Machiavelli himself warned, the absent are always spoken of more than the present. Here's why it works. Imagine this. You're with her, and the conversation flows effortlessly. Laughter, sparks, her body leaning in. Most men would cling to this moment, staying as long as possible. But not you. You exit right there at the peak. You leave her with unfinished energy. Her brain, flooded with dopamine, suddenly feels the spike cut short. And now, it becomes addicted. She replays your last words. She rereads your last text. She reimagines the moment. You've created what psychologists call an open loop, and the brain hates unfinished loops. Think of your favorite TV show ending on a cliffhanger. You don't stop watching because it's complete, you keep watching because it's not. That is what you must become, the cliffhanger in her story. So, how do you apply this discipline? Don't reply instantly to every message. Let her feel the gap. When energy is high, leave first. Don't stay until it dies down. End phone calls while the laughter still lingers. Walk away in person while her body is still engaged. This is neglect as strategy. And here's the key. Neglect without timing is just absence. Neglect with timing is power. Withdraw at the moment of greatest intensity. That's what transforms interest into obsession. Because what she cannot fully have, she cannot fully forget. It's the paradox of desire. The less of you she has, the more her mind works to chase you. The more she chases, the deeper she binds herself to you. Neglect is not emptiness, it's the fuel of obsession. And yet, neglect alone cannot carry the fire, because there will always come a moment where the air between you thickens, where silence becomes electric, where the space begs to be closed. Most men freeze, they hesitate, they wait for permission, and in that hesitation, desire collapses. The fourth pillar, the strike of boldness. Here's the moment that separates men from shadows. You've disrupted her rhythm with movement. You've worn the invisible crown of attitude. You've left her restless with neglect. But now, the room grows still. The air thickens. Her gaze lingers a fraction too long. Her laugh slows into silence. Her body leans, unconsciously, into yours. This is the moment of escalation. And most men fail right here. They freeze. They hesitate. They wait for permission. Their minds choke with fear. What if she rejects me? What if I ruin the vibe? What if I'm too much? And in that hesitation, the spark dies. Desire withers. She feels it. Hesitation is weakness disguised as politeness. But the man of gravity, the man who understands the primitive code, he does not hesitate. He does not overthink. He strikes. This is boldness, not aggression, not desperation, but the calm, decisive clarity of a man who knows what he wants. Machiavelli himself whispered across time, "Fortune favors the bold, because fortune is a woman and she yields to strength." The primitive brain is wired to respond to leadership, to decisive action, to the strike at the right moment. Desire is not built on safety alone. It thrives on the taste of danger under control. Picture this. Her eyes lock with yours too long. The silence swells between you, too heavy. The air begs to break. The average man talks the moment away. He laughs nervously. He fills the silence. He collapses. But you lean closer. Your hand finds hers, intentional. Your lips hover just beyond her ear as you speak low, not asking, not begging, just moving with the current already written in her body. You step through the door, her instincts already opened. That is boldness, not reckless force, not hesitation, but the courage to move first when the moment arrives. And here's the paradox. Women will never tell you this. They speak of patience, gentleness, waiting, and those things are real. But beneath them, hidden in the layers of biology, is the ancient hunger for the man who moves without fear. Because boldness is not just a behavior, it is a signal that says, this man leads, this man acts, this man will not freeze when the world burns. And that signal, it bypasses her logic. It brands itself into her nervous system. This is why boldness, when mastered, becomes unforgettable. You're no longer one of the countless men she ignores. You become the man her body remembers, even when her mind resists. But boldness alone must be paired with something deeper, because words and actions can still be faked. But there is one language that never lies. The Pillar 5, magnetic touch, speaking to the skin. Long before humans spoke in words, we spoke in touch. A hand on the shoulder, a grip that said dominance, a caress that promised safety. Our ancestors didn't need sentences, the skin carried the message. And the truth is this: words can lie, but touch never deceives. Every woman is wired to respond to the right touch, delivered at the right moment. Yet most men fail here because their touch is either too soon, too much, or too desperate. Their touch feels like need, not like power, and her body rejects it. Attraction dies not because touch itself is wrong, but because timing and rhythm are everything. Machiavelli would remind you, the subtle weapon must be sharper than the obvious one, and touch is exactly that, the subtle weapon of seduction. So how do you wield it? With contrast. It's not about pressure, it's about absence. It's not about holding, it's about release. The power of touch is not in the contact, it's in the silence that follows. Picture this: a light brush of her arm as you laugh together, innocent, fleeting, guiding her gently through a doorway with the back of your hand on her lower back, protective, subtle. A playful tap that lingers a heartbeat longer than expected, casual yet electric. Then, you withdraw. You let absence carve the craving. Her body begins to miss the contact before her mind even notices. You've triggered her nervous system into longing. The rhythm is simple: near, gone, contact, silence, safety, danger. A dance of opposites that rewires her body to respond to you like a drug. And here's the biology. When the right man touches her, oxytocin and dopamine flood her system. Bonding chemicals, addiction chemicals. You're not just touching her body, you're branding yourself into her memory. Long after she forgets your words, her body will remember the way your fingertips lingered. But understand this, magnetic touch is not about grabbing. It's not about being forceful. It's about listening through your hands. Touch is a dialogue. Her response guides your next move. And when you master that dialogue, you stop being forgettable. You become imprinted. This is why most men vanish from memory. They overload her with words. They smother her with attention. But the man who understands the silent language of touch becomes the one her body cannot erase. Because touch bypasses thought. Touch is primal, and primal is forever. By now you understand what most men never will. Movement sets you apart. Attitude anchors you. Neglect builds hunger. Boldness ignites the spark. Touch imprints desire into her skin. But all of that pales before this final force. Because beneath attraction, beneath desire, beneath biology itself, there is a deeper hunger every woman carries. The hunger to be seen. Not for the mask she wears, not for the polished words, the makeup, the laughter rehearsed for the crowd, but for the hidden truths beneath all that. The doubts, the patterns, the desires she hides even from herself. Every woman is a fortress of signals. The rhythm of her voice, the pauses in her laughter, the subjects she avoids, the jewelry she wears, the way she touches her hair when silence arrives, all of it speaks. Most men are blind. They miss it all. But the man who sees, the man who notices what no one else does, he becomes the mirror she never knew she needed. This is the final pillar, cold reading. Machiavelli would have told you, to rule men, read their fears. To rule women, read their hidden hunger. The art of reading the unspoken cold. Reading is not magic. It is presence sharpened into precision. It is watching with such attention that her armor begins to crack. She laughs too loudly when she's nervous. You see it. She speaks quickly to cover her emotions. You notice. She wears bold jewelry to mask her insecurity. You name it gently. And suddenly, she feels naked, not physically, but emotionally. She feels exposed in a way most men could never touch, and that sensation terrifies her. But it also pulls her closer, because the primitive brain craves exposure. It craves the one strong enough to see the truth without judgment. But here's the discipline. You must never weaponize it. If you expose her too brutally, she shuts down. If you reflect it back with calm curiosity, she opens more. Cold reading is not performance. It is presence. It is silence turned into understanding. Try this. Instead of filling silence, watch her energy. When she reveals a pattern, reflect it softly. You laugh when you're uncomfortable. When she slows down, honor it. You seem calmer when you pause like that. Say less. Notice more. Let the truth linger. Because once she feels seen, she will fill the silence herself with vulnerability, with emotion, with the parts of her no one else has touched. Why it works, here's the primal effect. When a woman feels truly seen, she bonds. Not because you forced her, not because you begged her, but because you reached into the chambers of her identity she thought were locked. This is the power of cold reading. It strips away the mask. It exposes the raw, feminine essence that she hides from everyone else. And when you stand calm in the face of that exposure, she realizes something profound. She cannot hide from you. And that realization, it is addictive. Now, let's step back. You've walked through every pillar: movement, attitude, neglect, boldness, touch, cold reading. And here's the deeper truth. These are not tricks. They are not gimmicks. They are disciplines that rewire not only how women experience you, but how the world experiences you. Because the man who can disrupt patterns, command presence, withhold at the peak, strike with clarity, speak through touch, and read unspoken truths, that man does not just win in attraction. He wins in life. Think about it. The ability to disrupt, that's innovation. The crown of attitude, that's leadership. The discipline of neglect, that's strategic focus. The strike of boldness, that's decision-making. The mastery of touch, that's empathy translated into action. The art of cold reading, that's influence at the deepest human level. These are not simply seduction skills, these are life skills. And when you embody them, you stop being the man who waits for permission. You stop being the man who blends into the background. You become the man who shapes the game itself. From this point on, you don't beg for attention. You command it. You don't hope to be chosen. You become the man she fights to keep. You don't live in fear of rejection. You live in the certainty of your own gravity. This is the turning point, the line between the man you were and the man you are now becoming. The new identity. The man you were, the one who over-explained, overgave, overthought, is gone. The man you are now, still, grounded, deliberate, stands in his place. And once you taste this shift, you cannot go back. Because the truth is clear, when you can control the game of desire, you can control any game. If you can shape emotions, you can shape careers. If you can create tension, you can create opportunity. If you can lead one woman into obsession, you can lead entire rooms into loyalty. Because the principles are the same: presence, patience, power. This is your new identity: unshakable, unstoppable, undeniable. A man who doesn't wait for permission. A man who doesn't bow to circumstance. A man who doesn't fade into the static, but a man who creates his own gravity. And once you become gravity, there is only one truth left to remember: nothing and no one can ignore you.